I want to give you something to think about. This is a question. What do you do when economic pressure, layoffs, and other challenges, financial challenges, start to creep into your workplace? What do you do when a member of your team walks up to you and asks you, am I going to get laid off? Is my job safe? What's going to happen to our department? See, these are some basic questions that as a senior leader, you're going to get asked in the next 8 months. You're going to get asked by your team members, is my job safe? Are we going to get laid off? What's going to happen to me? They're going to ask this question. And the reason why they're going to ask this question, because of what all of the challenges that are happening right now in the external environment, those challenges will creep into your workplace. You're probably already seeing it with gas prices. You might even be seeing it with your products and services that you provide, that you're able to do less right now. You're having other challenges that are going to creep into your workplace, and it's going to affect the finances of your organization. And then, God forbid, something even bigger happens than the moment that we're in. And then you have the kind of conversation that I had just 6 years ago. I'll never forget it. We were sitting in an executive leadership team meeting, or as we called it, the ELT. We're sitting in the ELT. We're going around and getting information. And the CEO says to the CFO, how about you give us an update? The CFO starts the conversation by talking about, because of the pandemic, we're struggling right now, not able to do outpatient procedures, elective surgeries, the things that we don't actually have to have, but we want to have as patients and consumers. And because we can't do these surgeries, that the financial bottom line is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, from a 9% margin to a 7% margin, from a 7% margin to a 3% margin, from a 3% margin to a 1% margin. And then the CFO says, if things don't start to turn around in the next 3 months, we might need to start thinking about layoffs. And let me read between the lines for you. It wasn't, we might need to start thinking about layoffs. It was to start thinking about layoffs. Because the next question was after that, or it wasn't even really a question, it was a statement that led into 3 questions. Question number 1 was, start thinking about the people on your team that you must have to keep operations going. The second group of people you need to start thinking about is the people you'd like to have to keep things going. And the third question is, who can you do without? In other words, who can you lay off? See, these 3 questions shook the room of executives that day, because heretofore, all of our people that we had were people that we needed to get the job done. But now we're being asked, who must you keep? Who would you like to keep? And who can be let go? I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about how you would respond to that question, or those 3 questions. If the CFO in your organization said, if things don't turn around in the next 3 months, we're going to start having to lay off people. And then ask you to make a list of the people that you got to keep, the people that you want to keep, and the people that you can let go, when you know you need all of the people on your team. You wanted them all. You needed them all. And up to this point, those people were doing a good job. But due to no fault of their own, just the external environment, you're now in a position where you have to think about layoffs. The economic pressure can be real in your organization. it can have a financial impact. And at that moment, in that meeting, I was having that conversation. Now, to everybody who wasn't in that room, it was business as usual, or at least we thought it was business as usual. But I'm here to tell you today that if you are having a conversation about layoffs, economic impact, budget constraints, any kind of internal challenge to your organization that could affect your staff, you might be thinking, nobody knows this but you, but I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. But more importantly, I'm going to tell you the 3 mistakes that executives make during these types of uncertain times. I'm going to tell you what you need to understand about this problem, but then I'm going to give you 3 things that you must do. That when I say must do, the great leaders do this. And when the great leaders do this, they don't lose their people as the world gets more and more uncertain around them. And I don't want you to lose your people. I want you to be the leader that they see as great, the leader that they admire, the leader that they remember, that when times were tough, when things were dark, when work was hard, this is the leader who showed up the right way, who helped us through a tough time, who helped us to navigate this landscape and is not at all bothered by uncertainty. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And, you know, if I had to think about a hip hop theme song to go with the context of this conversation, it probably would be Slick Rick's The Moment I Feared. Because every leader fears this moment that you built a team that's operating on all cylinders, performing at the highest level, doing all of the things that you need to do to be successful. And you're thinking, man, I feel great because my team's performance is at the highest level. But now you get hit with a curveball. You get hit with something out of left field where the CFO says to you, we got to start thinking about layoffs. We got to start thinking about who we got to keep, who it would be nice to keep, and who we can afford to let go. And maybe you can't afford to let anybody go. But now you're having to make that kind of decision, and you think you want to keep it from your team. That raises the first problem with this problem in this situation, this mentality for you. And understand this. Number one, uncertainty in the world creates a vacuum in your workplace. I want you to know that. Uncertainty in the world will create a vacuum in your workplace. And what do I mean a vacuum? I'm going to tell you that your employees know a story about what's going on. And you might have the best executive leadership team where you have informational security at the highest level, that things that are discussed at the ELT are not discussed anywhere else. But I'm going to tell you that's not true, because your employees see what's going on in the external environment. They have friends that work at other organizations. They have friends who work in other industries that are facing layoffs. You don't believe me? I'm telling you right now, as I'm talking to you, that I know people who are being laid off. They were laid off last week, last month, and 3 months ago because of what's going on. I'm telling you, 3 different groups of people. Someone was laid off 3 months ago because of what's going on right now. Someone was laid off last month for what's going on right now. And yes, I know someone that was laid off last week. So it may not be affecting your organization right now, but I'm certain the same way I know 3 people who've been laid off, your team knows somebody that has been laid off. And because they know somebody that's been laid off, they are telling themselves a story about what's going to happen in your organization. And that story might be that, man, layoffs about to come around here. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that I'm going to lay off. So I'm going to quit before I lose my job. Or I'm going to spend more time interviewing for a new job in anticipation of the layoffs coming here. Or better yet, I'm going to pick up hours at my part-time job. I'm going to find my side hustle right now. Like they're saying these things are true. And they're going to assume they're going to get laid off. But they might be the person on your list that's a must keep. And so do you want to have a must keep person and lose that person because they're making a story up in their head? They're making a story around what's going on. They're going to generate a story, and that story is because there's an information vacuum at work. They're going to make assumptions that because the hospital across town has laid off 500 workers, that we're going to lay off 500 workers too. And I don't want to be one of the 500. So I'm going to get ahead of the game and go ahead and get out of the door. That is the truth. Uncertainty creates a vacuum. Uncertainty creates a vacuum in your organization. So you need to be aware of that problem. Number one is that uncertainty creates a vacuum. Here's the second problem that you need to be aware of. That your employees, the people that you lead, they're asking silent questions. So the uncertainty creates a vacuum of information, but in that vacuum, your employees are asking questions that they're not going to say out loud. One of them is in the title of this video. Is my job safe? Is my job safe? They don't care about anybody else's job. They care about, is their job safe? The second question that they're asking, when is the last time I updated my resume? See, because if there's an information vacuum and people don't think that their job's safe, you think they're just going to sit there and let it happen to them and wait for it to happen to them? Absolutely not. They're actually looking for a job now, or at least thinking about, is my resume updated so I can put it out there, put some feelers out there. I can start checking on LinkedIn to see if there's some positions open. Making sure they change their profile on LinkedIn that says looking for work. These are the people you depend on. The people who you think are the most valuable on your team, that they're must keeps or would like to keeps, but yet they're looking for another job. And in those questions, when they have that vacuum of silence because you haven't said anything or nobody has said anything, but they read the tea leaves about what's going on in the world, I'm telling you right now, your people are losing trust in you as a leader every day. They don't trust the environment. They don't trust what you say or what you don't say. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but their lack of trust leads to a lack of performance. Their lack of trust leads to them not doing the things that had your team being a high-performing team in the first place. So I just want you to know right now that they're asking these silent questions in their head because there is a vacuum when uncertainty is in the external environment. It's going to bring it into your workplace. These things are happening. So let me give you the third thing, and then I'm going to get to the three things that you need to do as a great leader. Not a good leader or an average leader, but a great leader. One that has the potential to become a legendary leader in your organization, especially in the darkest times that are coming. Again, you're going to have this conversation with someone on your team in the next 6 months. I'm certain of it. I'm certain as the uncertainty that exists. So here's the third thing that leaders do. Many leaders make the same simple mistake. And that is, you want to wait until you have all of the information before you tell your team anything. That the CFO only said, we might be facing layoffs. But he didn't say if that was going to be in operations or is it going to be in marketing. He didn't say if it's going to be in the sales side of things. He didn't say whether it's going to be a leadership layoff or are we going to lay off frontline workers. So let me wait for a couple more meetings to get some more details, some more insights, and some more knowledge before I say anything. So you want to be perfect when you talk to your team about this. I know it because you're that kind of leader. The leader that always wants to be mistake-free. You don't want to say the wrong thing. So you want to wait till you have all of the information before you make a decision about anything. You want to make sure that, I get the facts straight from the CEO and the CFO. And maybe I'm going to wait till the next board meeting, which is in 3 months. Let's see what the board says about all of this before I say anything. I got to be perfect in my response. So you're going to wait for information. Now, if the uncertainty is happening right now and you decide that you're going to wait for 3 months, you already lost your people. You're going to lose the people who matter to you the most because you're waiting to say something 3 months down the road after you have time to gather your facts, gather for all of the answers to everything. This is a mistake. This is a massive mistake. Because let me give you the second half of the story. I'm not going to give you the whole second half, but I'm going to tell you this part. When the CFO said that conversation, you need to start thinking about who you must keep, who you'd like to keep, and who can afford to be laid off. The second line that really impacted me was he said that we're going to focus on non-clinical staff. See, when you're at a hospital, you got clinical staff like nurses, doctors, patient care technicians, people who are critical to take care of patients because you can bill the insurance, you can bill Medicaid, you can bill Medicare, all of those things because those people have skills that do a job that helps to take care of patients. That's clinical staff. But non-clinical staff are people who don't directly take care of patients, heal patients up, and support them. And when this conversation was had, most of my team was non-clinical staff. But yet my team was clinical support staff, meaning that we supported the people who took care of the patients. Like literally, my team you could not do without if you were seeing a patient who spoke a language other than English. Because my team were the interpreters. So if a patient showed up and they didn't speak a lick of English, but they spoke Farsi, or they spoke French, or they spoke German, and nobody else on the clinical team spoke those languages, well, interpretation services is the group of people who interprets for the clinical staff. And if you don't have them there, you're not only breaking the law, but you can get somebody killed. So as I'm listening to this conversation from the CFO, I'm realizing I can't afford to do without my non-clinical staff, interpreters. Our job is to keep patients safe. But it's really hard to do that when they're not there because we had to lay them off. I had other non-clinical support staff. Think chaplains. Yes, they don't take care of patients, but the patients need them there when they're in their darkest moments and their darkest hours. Sometimes the clinical staff who just saw the most tragic mass casualty accident they've ever had come into the emergency room are exhausted because they lost 5 patients and they got 7 others in critical condition. They need prayer. They need counseling. They need support. They need to talk to somebody, not when they get off work. They need to talk to somebody in real time. So when I'm hearing this conversation, I'm thinking to myself, all of my staff is a must keep. But the next part of the conversation is where it got real scary, is that we're looking at a 50% reduction for everybody, clinical and non-clinical. So that means I can't keep everybody. I was told to make a list of the 3 groups: must keep, like to keep, and who can be let go. But then to get told that it's got to be 50%. So that's happening at a senior leadership level because there's uncertainty in the external environment. That creates a vacuum. People start asking silent questions. And yeah, I was tempted to wait till I had all of the answers before saying anything to my team. These are mistakes. Letting the uncertainty create a vacuum, allowing your team to be asking these silent questions that they're making up in their head. Like Nas would say, people fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. I guess it's just the theory of man. People are afraid of the unknown. And so if you don't give them the known, or you don't turn the unknown into the known, that's going to create a vacuum. They're going to make up stories in their head. And then if you feel like you got to be perfect before you can actually say anything, that's where you're going to lose your team. But now let me give you the 3 things you must do to be a great leader in this kind of uncertain environment. When your team is asking, am I going to lose my job? Is my job safe? Here is what you need to do. Number 1, you don't need to be silent. You need to be transparent. When I say you don't need to be silent, you need to be transparent. And let me tell you what I did. When I was sitting in that senior leadership team meeting and I heard that we might be facing layoffs in the next 3 months if things didn't turn around for us, I immediately left that meeting and walked right to the office of my 2 immediate direct reports. 2 directors. I went right to them, and here's what I said. I just left a senior leadership meeting, and I want you to know that we are facing some headwinds coming in the near future. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to start thinking about, if we had to face potential layoffs, who on our team would be the first to go? And then I also said to them, make sure your LinkedIn profile and your resume are updated. I'm updating mine too. So I basically told my team that they need to start thinking about who needs to be let go. And I told them to update their resume and update their LinkedIn profile. And then I asked them, if you need any professional development, any training, any certifications, you want to go to a conference, you need to go to that conference sooner than later. So go ahead and find the conference, register for it, book your travel to go. What was I telling my team to do? You better start networking and working on your professional skills, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next. I didn't wait till I had all of the answers. I told them immediately. Transparency breeds trust in you as a leader. The more transparent you are with your teams, the more of a leader you will be, the more trusted of a leader you will be. So when I said those things, I got a few questions. And when they asked me the few questions, I answered the questions to the best of my ability. But what I also said to them are the things that I don't know. You should never be afraid to tell your team what you don't know. If they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. At this point, I don't have any information about that. I'm not certain at this point, but I'm working to get you an answer. See, some leaders make the mistake, think they got to be perfect and have all the answers. You don't. You just got to be willing to be transparent and tell the truth all the time. Don't be afraid to say, I don't have an answer to that, but I'm going to go and try to find one for you and get back to you. That's the first step. Don't be silent. Be transparent. And I was transparent with my direct reports, and I told them to be transparent with their direct reports. See, I started to share the information as I knew it at that moment, not to cause hysteria, but to reduce people making up stories in their own mind. Let me give you the facts as I got them today. That's the first thing. Now, here's the second thing. When things start to feel uncertain, you need to anchor your people in what is true and foundational. And when I say anchor people, what's in true and foundational is that, listen, here's one thing I do know. We're not going to close. We still got patients we got to take care of. We're still going to be the number one provider of X, Y, and Z in this region. That our mission is to take care of people. I don't know why I got a little frog in my throat. We're going to take care of people. We're going to take care of people. So the mission hasn't changed. That we have to meet the moment. You got to ground people in what's going to stay real. What's real is that our customers still need us. That we still got to deliver these products. We still got to make a difference in the lives of people. We still got to get these grants out of the door. We still got to make sure these students graduate. I don't know what your business or service or organization is, but you still got to do it no matter what uncertainty comes. You're not going to shut down 100% in the next 6 months. So you got to remind your team that we still got work to do. These patients still need interpretation services. These healthcare workers still need a chaplain to be there with them. We literally got to be who we're designed to be. We got to live on purpose. Our mission is still real. And that's the second thing that you need to do is to make sure you anchor your people into what is constant, what's real, what's not going to change. The mission is not going to change. The need for what you do is not going to change. And that leads me to the third thing that you need to do. As a leader, you don't need to change. That means you need to show up. That means you need to be visible. The last thing you want to do is to know that bad stuff is about to happen and you get MIA. You get invisible. You go into your office and close the door and hoard yourself. Oh no, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? You can't be that person. You got to be visible. You got to show up. Your people need to see you leading them through the uncertainty. So that means you got to be good when it's bad. Being good when it's bad means that you're showing up in real time for your team and being visible. Walk the floor. Schedule one-on-one meetings to check in with people. Be around where people are seeing you during the tough times. And when you show up, you don't need to look like a nervous ninny. You don't need to look like the scared, cowardly lion on the Wizard of Oz. You might have some internal fear, but you need to show up strong for your team. Be visible and be around. So there you have it. When people start asking, is my job safe because of layoffs, economic pressure, budget restraints, budget cuts, when all of these things start to show up at work, know that that uncertainty is creating a vacuum, that your people are asking solid questions. And the one mistake that leaders make is waiting before they have all of the answers, before they say something to their people. So what you need to do instead is to be transparent rather than being silent. You need to anchor people back in the mission of your work, your organization, and the people you serve. And thirdly, you still need to show up and be the leader that they need to see and hear from during these uncertain times. So I want to thank you for watching. I would love to hear from you how you're handling this kind of disruptive environment that's starting to grow. And it's been with us for a long time and it'll continue to be with us. But I really want to help you to grow real time. So let me know in the comments how you're dealing with the challenges that are in front of us. I want to thank you for watching. Everybody have a fantastic day.